In no rush at all to get things done. The New York Jets, 3.5, 4 hours after the league deadline to have their 53-man roster submitted, have released it to the public on their website. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the surprises. There were a few, and some of the stuff we expected. I'm Glenn Naughton with Jet Nation Radio and JetNation.com. Be sure to log into JetNation.com where you can register and become a part of what is the most active Jets message board on the web. It will be hopping today, as it is every year, on 53-man roster day. And we say this every year, and we'll say it again. This ain't the 53. This is like the 48, the 49. You're going to see some moves over the next 2-3 days. Guys who made it today are going to be let go, and they'll add some guys through waivers who they like. So we'll do some names today that will likely be moving on in the next couple days, maybe practice squad, something like that. But without further ado, what we have now as of this moment. Some things personally that I liked, others didn't like at all. First of all, the quarterback situation, Brady Cook, there is no QB3. The Jets are going to go with the very injury-prone Tyrod Taylor as their QB2. No QB3 on the roster. I would imagine Cook heads to the practice squad and, in hopes that no one else scoops him up. Fields and Taylor are your quarterbacks. Andrew Beck is at fullback. That was expected. No surprise there. Brees Hall, obviously, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, and Kenny Nwangu. Now, Nwangu, I was a little bit iffy on because I thought maybe you keep Pritchett. Maybe you keep the receiver who can make plays with the ball in his hands, and maybe he hangs around and Nwangu goes. That is not the case. The Jets, if you include Beck, carrying 5 running backs. So, I mean, again, Beck will be a fullback, tight end, H-back. He'll fill a few different roles. At receiver, Garrett Wilson, Josh Reynolds, Alan Lazard, Tyler Johnson, Arian Smith, Jamal Pritchett, Irvin Charles, and Quentin Skinner. Now, look, I got to double check that. This is on a couple different sites with the rosters because earlier today it said Skinner did not make the cut. This saying it does. Let's go to the Jets, see if they've updated their roster on the official team page. I don't know that they have because I checked it just a few minutes ago, and Jarek Bernard Converse was one of the first names I saw, and he is gone. It appears to be updated, so that's awfully handy. And I do not see Skinner on here. So now that the Jets have updated their actual page, we'll use that. I was using a different site because the Jets didn't have theirs up to date, but they've now done that. So who was I using? That doesn't matter. They were wrong. So we will go. Let's see if I want to see if the Jets have they done an updated depth chart, and it appears they have. So let's go off that. All right, so we did quarterback, we did running back, wide receivers, Alan Lazard, Xavier Gipson, Josh Reynolds, Tyler Johnson. I got to tell you, I don't love the Gipson move. I don't. And look, it's entirely possible that he's a better player than what we've seen because the previous offensive coaching staff were a bunch of morons. So maybe there is something there with Gipson, but I really thought Pritchett, with what he showed, I thought he deserved the shot, earned himself a roster spot. The Jets clearly disagree. Don't see it that way. At tight end, no surprises. They've got Ruckert listed as tight end 1. I'd be surprised if that's the case, but it's Ruckert, Mason Taylor, and Stone Smart. No real surprises there. On the offensive line, I mentioned, just looking at the receivers, I'm sure I mentioned Irv Charles and Arian Smith. Charles, of course, the special teams ace. Smith, of course, was a lock. Offensive line, Armand Membu, Chukwuma Okorafor, his backup. AVT at guard with Newman listed as his backup. Marquise Hayes, probably the biggest surprise, makes the roster. Joe Tippmann and Josh Myers. Tippmann, the starter, as he should be. Josh Myers took many valuable snaps away from Tippmann during camp, but that is now over, and they can stop playing that little game. John Simpson, left guard. Olu Fashanu, left tackle, of course, with Max Mitchell listed as his backup as well. That covers the offensive side of the ball. On defense, we've got Will McDonald with Rashad Weaver listed as his backup and Tyler Barron behind them. A couple of the beat guys in recent days were kind of iffy on Barron because he hasn't really shown much at all. Quinnen Williams at DT with Tufeli listed as his backup and Leonard Taylor the third behind him. He's another one. Leonard Taylor, I've said all. I mean, it's to me, he's not a guy you let go. But recent days, a lot of beat guys, a lot of he's on the bubble, he's on the outside looking in. I'm watching him. I'm like, he's too good. He's got to make it. So he makes it. Byron Cowart, the other DT, Michael Clemens, Braden McGregor, and Jermaine Johnson listed as the edges. Marcelino McCrary Ball, these are your linebackers. Jamie and Sherwood, Francisco Mauigoa, Jamarcus Winston, Quincy Williams, and Zaire Barnes. So a little bit of a surprise there. Though I mean, look, Barnes, I thought had his best game of the preseason last week. That little late push apparently gets him on the roster. I wondered if Jackson Sermon might make it because I thought Aaron Glenn would want a bigger backer on his roster. I forget what Barnes and some of the other guys, but Sermon was the biggest, so I wondered if he might make it. He did not. Michael Carter is the nickel. The corners are Sauce, or the boundary corners are Sauce Gardner, Brandon Stevens, Quantez Stiggers, Azariah Thomas. Now this lists Chris Boyd, but he's on IR, so that we got to look into that. Safeties: Andre Sisco, Malachi Moore, Tony Adams, Isaiah Oliver. No surprises there. Specialists: Nick Folk at kicker. We expected that. Austin McNamara, who had a very good camp, is the punter. Xavier Gibson listed as the punt returner, also listed as the kick returner ahead of Nwangu, which should not be the case. And Thomas Hennessy, the long snapper. So there you have it, folks. That is the roster. My info. How you doing? Yeah, I double checked that. My info. Let me see, what page was that? I looked it up. NorthJersey.com. They got it wrong. They got Skinner as the let me see. Yeah, backups. Oh, yeah, this is terrible. Is this from today? I might have pulled up an old 3 minutes ago. Get it together, North Jersey. They got Pritchett on the roster. Okay, I don't know if I'm reading this wrong. They have like 10 receivers listed. It says New York Jets 2025 roster. Anyway, they're wrong. Jets roster is right. No Pritchett, no Skinner, no Smith. I was sure one of those guys would make it, if not two. I didn't think all three would make it. But Smith was one of the first sort of publicized cuts earlier today. And yeah, my info. I completely agree. I think Quentin Skinner deserved to win a roster spot. I think that at 6'5", he would have offered a fantastic. He would have offered a fantastic option as a red zone threat. Catches the ball well down the field. We've talked about excellent hands. You look at the big plays at Kansas, made big plays in the preseason. That's a tough one, man. Like you come in with that guy's resume, the physical attributes, you play well. He made a big catch every single week, made tough catches, made contested catches, made a diving touchdown catch, and then he doesn't make the run. And then they keep Alan Lazard, who leads the NFL in drop percentage over the last 3 years or whatever it is. It's tough, man. Sometimes these teams have their mind made up before you can go in there and do everything you want, and it doesn't always move the needle. Doesn't always take a team off of what they wanted or what they want when they show up. When they show up to camp, they kind of have their mind made up. So I would imagine Skinner goes to the practice squad, though. That's got to be a thing. Do I think another team picks him up? I think it's possible. I mean, if you need receiver help, you feel like you can develop a guy. Yeah, I'm like if Skinner has the option, right? The Jets say, "Oh, we want to bring you back on the practice squad." Player has the option if another team calls. If a better team calls and says, "We'll put you on our practice squad," the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Jason Brownlee made their 53 today. Not good enough for the Jets, but good enough for the Chiefs. So I think, yeah, I mean, if I'm Skinner, and I would imagine Skinner's got enough on film that somebody will call and at least say, "Do you want to join our practice squad?" And if you can go to a team that's a little bit less dysfunctional, a little bit more settled at quarterback, um, who knows? Maybe he chooses to go elsewhere. I know it seems every year one or two guys will have the option and move on. Someone did it last year. Forget who it was. There was somebody they wanted to keep around. But let's see. Let's real quick. Yeah, let's see. Leonard Taylor tweeting out the heart, happy as could be, of course. And 10-0 lineman. That's a big thing. That's yeah. Rich Cimini just tweeted, of course, on the ball. Gibson over Pritchett. I hate that. And 10 offensive linemen. Did not expect that. And a lot of it, yeah. If I thought if they kept 10 linemen, it would be because they kept Carter Warren, kept another tackle. But not so. Not the case today. So there's your 53. But again, as I said, let's be honest, let's be real. If you know the way this works, this is the 49-man roster. And it could be an offensive lineman might be the first guy. I always wonder that. I always wonder how honest teams are with these guys. If they call them in and say, look, you made the 53, but you are 53. If somebody comes across the waiver wire who we like, you're the first guy to go. Or there's a good chance you're going to go, depending on the position, of course, of the guy that you're adding. Let's see. My info says if you were the Jets, would you pick up Mike White? Not a chance, my info. Aaron Glenn has made it very clear from before he arrived here. He wants dual threat running quarterbacks. That's his top priority. That's why they got Justin Fields. That's why they drafted, or that's why they signed Brady Cook. That's why they retained Tyrod Taylor. That's why they let Adrian Martinez. All four quarterbacks they had in camp this year could all run. Mike White can't run. He does now. Dorian Thompson Robinson, I could see that happening. Um, I think there are some guys out there who can run a little bit, but yeah, not keeping Cook. That's I don't know. I mean, you've exposed him, and he's another one. You know, if a team with an established offensive coordinator, like what they saw from him, or with a head coach, you know, as we talked about this the other day on Play Like a Jet with Scott Mason, and he said, you know, let's say Sean McVay likes him, and you're Brady Cook, and your agent says, hey, you can go, you know, pick Sean McVay's brain and get coached up by him. Um, I think the Jets are a tough sell if you're trying to get a young quarterback to stay with you when they have the choice to leave. But look, as much as I like Brady Cook, I'm not sitting here saying that there's going to be 15 teams banging down his door, begging him to come join their practice squad or offering him a contract. That's not what I'm saying. But I think that if there's just one other team, if you look at the coaching history of this team and you look at the resumes of the offensive staff, there aren't many staffs that would be worse for a quarterback to go to. Um, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see who comes and goes over the next few days. I think the Jets will be looking for a tight end. I think the Jets will be looking for a wide receiver. That's actually what I want to check on the official roster on the site on the team's page. I got messed up counting the receivers because let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. So Garrett Wilson, Arian Smith, Josh Reynolds, Alan Lazard, Tyler Johnson, Xavier Gibson. Xavier Gibson's the only real surprise at wide receiver. And that's not, I mean, it's not a huge surprise, but I thought Pritchett was more deserving. No surprises at tight end. I'm just going to run through it again one more time, just looking at them in groups. I was just sort of picking individually, going through the names. But now I just want to go through real quick. Look at them as a group. Again, tight end with Taylor, Smart, and Rucker. You got to be looking for another tight end. Cisco and Adams, no surprise at safety. Those will be your starters. No surprise at running back. No surprise at quarterback. I expected Xavier Newman to make it. Mitchell, I thought, as I've said before, I would have kept Carter Warren, but the expectation was that it would be Mitchell. He stays. At linebacker, no surprises there. Well, again, I take that back. Zaire Barnes, somewhat of a surprise. And I wonder if he's one of the first guys to go. I mean, very athletic player. Jets list him at 227. I really thought they'd want somebody. I mean, they do have Mauigoa, who's 233. Um, yeah, well, listed at 233 anyway. ABT, again, Marquise Hayes, he's the Oklahoma product who was added in the offseason, and he had himself a pretty good preseason. McGregor on the edge, I like that. I thought it would be him. I thought it would be him or Watts, but Watts and Clemens are so similar in size and athletic profile and things like that. I thought it might have been a little bit redundant to keep both. My info, send me a question. So what happens if Fields doesn't pan out? Would you draft a quarterback? My info. I mean, realistically, if Fields doesn't pan out, you're probably winning 5 games this year. You're picking high, and you have some assets to try to move up. But really, this year, picking 5, that should be enough to get your quarterback. You might not get the one you want. You're not going to get Arch if he comes out. You're probably not getting Klubnik, but Lenora Sellers, he's an option. Who are some of the other guys? And that Garrett Nussmeier, LSU. There's some options where the Jets will likely be picking if Justin Fields does not work out. And Sellers can run. Nussmeier I think he can run a little bit, but he's not going to threaten the way other guys do. Mendoza, the kid who transferred to Indiana. So there are some guys. Jalen Daniels could be a day 3 guy. I like Jalen Daniels. You're going to hear me talk a lot about him during the pre-draft process. The kid Miami got drafted by Tennessee, got cut today. Do you mean the receiver? Do you mean Xavier Restrepo? My info? Is that who you're talking about? Peter says hopefully they get JBC back. 100%, man. But he's another one. Maybe I'm overvaluing these guys. I just feel that if you look at Jarek Bernard Converse, played at major programs, has played safety and played corner, and played well when given the opportunity, plays a premium position, all that stuff wrapped into one. I can't believe 31 other teams don't see him as like a CB4, potential backup spot starter. I'd be surprised. But sometimes teams do. I mean, they fall in love with their own guys, or they have a guy who's similar enough, but they think, you know what, this guy's been in our building and our system. We've coached him up to this point. We're going to keep him rather than bringing a similar or slightly better guy from another team, another system, all that. Yeah, so my info, I'm assuming you mean Xavier Restrepo, but he wasn't drafted. The kid from Miami University got drafted by Tennessee, got cut today. Yeah, that's the only, I mean, I'm assuming you don't mean Cam Ward. But the only other guy I know of is they added Restrepo. Unless I miss him. But yeah, okay. Listen, I like Restrepo a lot. He had that really bad 40 time. Ran in like the 9.3s. It was absurd. But I still thought he would get drafted on day 3. He didn't. And I thought he would make the roster. He didn't, so I'm 0 for 2 there. 0 for 2 with Restrepo. And yeah, so I don't think I saw Marquise Hayes on anybody's 53. Anybody's projected 53. Certainly not on mine. I thought Cole Laval would have a better shot than him. Probably because I like Cole Laval. I'm more familiar with him. Watched a ton of him last year. Thought he looked all right this year. And there's your. Well, we'll find out in the coming days if this is truly the 49 or the 50 or the whatever it is. Some claims will be put in. Players will be added. Players will be subtracted. And then as week 1 inches closer, we will have a true idea of who is who and what is what. Real quick, let's take a look at the injured list, who the Jets placed on IR. As we said, Boyd was already on IR. Byron Cowart, Rashad Weaver, Jamarcus Weston all land on the injured list. They still show Irv Charles being on the pup. So I don't know if or when they plan on taking him off of that. But that does it, folks. Just wanted to hop on, talk a little bit real quick about who hung around, who didn't. Again, couple of surprises, nothing earth shattering, but don't like Pritchett didn't make it, don't like Skinner didn't make it, don't like they didn't keep Cook. But it is what it is. More moves coming in the next 24, 48 hours. It'll give us a clearer picture of who will be suiting up and rolling into MetLife week one to take on Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. That'll do it for this one, Jets fans. Have a good one.